Hi everyone, Alex from AutoStore here. So this is episode 12 of How to Design an AutoStore, and this week we are moving on to the robots. So the robot we're going to start with is the R5, and this is the pin-up for AutoStore. It is the robot everybody recognizes, the red line cantilever style robot, and it's probably been used for about 90% of our total installs globally. So out of the 1,500, 90 odd percent will have an R5 on it. So probably a little bit more, probably more like 95% actually, now I think about it. So it is our kind of workhorse, our go-to, our starting point for all kind of designs. So the reason it's called the R5 is because it's the fifth generation of this style of robot. So you can see here, since the sort of 90s, we had that silver metal looking robot on the left hand side, which was one of the prototypes. There's one of those still in the head office, which you can go and see. You can see we were yellow in the first generation, and then we got that kind of Ferrari red from the second generation onwards. So we've kept that going all the way through to the R5 and beyond with the R5 Pro, which we'll talk about next week. So the red line as a whole is split into two, the R5 and the R5 Plus. Now the difference between those is essentially just the bins that they handle. So the R5 will handle the 220 and the 330, smaller ones. And the R5 Plus may look exactly the same, but it's like a little bit bigger to handle the 425 bins. So previous to the R5 Plus, we could only use the B1 or black line to handle the 425 bins, designed for footwear and things. So the R5 Plus was brought out to allow us to use the 425s, but the cheaper R5 robot. So there's a reason why the R5 has been used on 95% of all installs, and that's because of its reliability, its ease of maintenance, low errors, and really simple design. It just keeps going. So thought I'd throw some stats out there for the R5. So it uses a 12 volt lead acid battery and only needs 100 watts to run. So you can run the R5s purely on solar energy, which people do in the UK even. In terms of speed, it can go max speed of 11 kilometers per hour. So not super fast, but the key is reliability, and it just keeps on going. Although the R5 hasn't got loads in there or loads to go wrong, it still weighs 150 kilos. When we were at an event, a number of us were required to just lift it up onto the pedestal. So why would you pick the R5? With our designs, we generally start with R5 and then work our way through the various robot options, depending on your shift structure, lines per hour, bins per hour, all of that. So we'd always start there because it's the cheapest, most reliable, most on the shelf, so quickest lead time, all of that. So the reasons why you wouldn't use the R5 is if you are more than two shifts, or even if you're two shifts, that's where the cutoff is. So the battery will have enough juice in there for about one shift, and then I'll have to go off and charge. So with the R5 Pros, they have little and often charging, or the B1s, they replace the batteries completely. So for a 24-hour fast system, B1 or R5 Pro is where you'd want to go. But saying that, the largest, fastest system in the UK, THG, is using the normal R5s, and they're getting at peak 20 plus thousand lines an hour. So we know the R5 can do the really fast systems like your THGs, but equally, it's great if you're doing the smaller systems with just a couple of robots. I think we've got a span of systems from two R5s or even one R5 all the way up to several hundred. So it's been used in all different types of applications. If you look at the R5 internally, it's really simple. So I've just got a cutout there of what the R5 looks like if you take off the front. And it's nice and simple, just pulleys and gears. So there's not loads to go wrong. And the super users on site can generally do all of that maintenance themselves. You don't need anybody from AutoStore or our partners to come in to do any of the servicing. That's it for this week and the R5. So the key takeaways really are that the R5 is our proper pin-up robot. It's our most reliable, most used, and it's the kind of brand robot that everybody recognizes for sure. So The R5 is built on reliability, and that's really what allows us to have that uptime because there isn't much to go wrong and it just keeps on going. In terms of selection of the robots, if you're only on one shift, we'll definitely be talking about R5. If you're on two shifts, we may be, but if you're on three shifts, we're likely to be talking more about the R5 Pro and the B ones, which we'll talk about over the next couple of weeks. Stay tuned for then. Cheers.